Welcome back to another week of Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you by our friends at Conway Furniture. That's Highway 86, east end of Listowel. Our friends over at Larry Hudson, Chevrolet Buick, GMC, and of course, the Listowel Squash Courts. Ryan Drury alongside Chris Clark. And we're very pleased to be joined by a guy that is the number one guest on this show. He's on all the time. Wow. Steve McAllister of the Parleh and, of course, Gaming News Canada. You can read his newsletter every week. I believe it's Thursdays you put that out, right, Steve?
Oh, I got some breaking news for you, Ryan.
Breaking news.
Break some news on the podcast. Well, it's not exactly breaking. It's about a month old now, but we made the executive decision at the end of February to stop writing the newsletter. So there's no longer a Gaming News Canada newsletter after 3 years. Still hosting the podcast one to two times a week, Gaming News Canada show podcast, so available on all your podcast platforms. But just it was time to slow down a little bit, and I'm inspired by seeing Clarkey play squash and
slow down a little bit. How much slower can you get, man?
Well, we're finding out. We're going to find out. We're going to find out, Commissioner.
We are going to find out.
That's the way I like it too.
I had wondered because I hadn't seen the newsletter in a while, and there you go. But you can still get the podcast, which is great. And Steve is your man for the sources on all things gaming news here in Canada. And that's why we wanted to turn to you and your expertise again this week, Mr. McAllister, because man, oh man, there have been some wild stories breaking in sports. And let's just dig into the talk of North American sports right now. And that is Shohei Ohtani, and it's not for anything that he's doing on the baseball field. Boy, did anybody have this on their 2024 bingo card when the year turned. If you're not familiar with what we're talking about here, Shohei Ohtani and his interpreter, now former interpreter, Ippei Mitsuhara, are embroiled in a wild gambling story where Ippei owes this illegal bookie $4.5 million, and he comes out and tells ESPN the day after they were in Seoul, Korea, to open the Major League season over there with the Dodgers and Padres. He tells ESPN when this breaks, Shohei lent me money to help pay this debt off to the tune of $4.5 million. And what a good friend he is. And he helped me out. Then all of a sudden, a day later, not 24 hours later, the story changes to where Ohtani's legal representatives are now saying Ippei stole the money. Ohtani had no idea about his gambling debts, and that essentially Ippei's a liar and that he owes Ohtani this money. Steve, when you saw this story break, what were your first thoughts?
Well, the first thought was, it made some sense that the interpreter got into some trouble with the bookmaker, and gambling is illegal in California. And, it sounded plausible that Ohtani stepped up and paid the guy's debts. I mean, Ohtani's obviously getting a boatload of money, and I'm surprised Donald Trump hasn't called him, but being able to shell out $4.5 million, and then the story took that twist. And I'll just paraphrase Bill Shakespeare here, guys, and just say that something's rotten in the state of Denmark right now, because the whole story about Ohtani, about the interpreter stealing money from Ohtani, it just smells really fishy to me.
It's so bizarre because of. I think the thing that is really intriguing right now to everybody is the rapid switch over about a 48-hour period of details, where it starts again with Ippei saying, I have a terrible gambling problem. I've learned my lesson. Shohei lent me this money. And then the next day, no, you stole it. The Dodgers fire him. He's been with Shohei the entire time over here. Then, as the days have rolled on into this week, this breaks last week. As the days have rolled on, Steve, every day it seems like a new nugget is falling out. And by the way, if you're intrigued by this story and following along intently like we are, this is a win and another example of local journalism doing a great job. So maybe support local journalists and make sure that, if you like hearing stories like this break, you actually support the industry, maybe. But yeah, it's been unbelievable. Tim Keown and everybody down there in LA has been doing a ridiculous job here. And then it starts trickling out that Ippei, on his biography on the Angels website, when he and Shohei were in Anaheim, claimed that he went to UC Riverside College and all this other stuff. And then the college comes out and says they have no record of him ever attending the college. And it's just unreal. And then it comes out that the FBI has wire transfer payments, record of payment. That's what could really break this thing, Steve, from Ohtani's account. And it's all in $500,000 installments. It's not 4.5 all at once. It's all these $500,000 installments, which means it could be true maybe that Ippei was stealing the money. But if it's true that Ohtani was paying him off, why was it in these $500,000? It's just so weird, Steve.
Yeah, no. And then, just to put gas in the fire, guys, the fact that Major League Baseball didn't come out for 36 hours with any kind of announcement, and then at 5 or 6 o'clock on Friday night announced they're going to do an investigation. I mean, if you look up, news dump in the dictionary, there's a picture of Rob Manfred. But, this is just typical how not to do crisis communications. And so now Major League Baseball, they realize they've got a cluster cluck on their hands, and they do have to investigate it. And there's also the whole gambling angle here is a whole other fascinating angle, because as we've talked about on the podcast, guys, we're in a much different place with gambling today, where you have regulated gambling in the US and Canada. And I think that's one thing that's made people who cover the gambling industry a bit annoying, is all the reporting about how this is a DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, Caesars problem, when in fact it's got nothing to do with operators who run legal businesses in regulated markets across North America and other parts of the world. But it's a guy in California who was taking bets like they did 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I saw someone on Twitter write a little mock sportscast on ESPN. I don't know if you guys saw it, but he says, "Welcome back to SportsCenter, presented by ESPN Bet. For more on the Ohtani situation, we go to our FanDuel MLB insider, Jeff Passan, at our DraftKings studio in Los Angeles, brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook." It's everywhere. Is this just like we saw it in the NHL as well?
Shane Pinto.
With Shane Pinto of the Ottawa Senators.
NFL numerous times.
Yeah. Is this just the beginning of this problem?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts, guys. And one thing I would encourage, if you're really interested by the whole gambling and sports thing, Andrew Buckholz has a great piece on awfulannouncing.com. So if you want to learn a little bit more about these stories and about the whole gambling industry, Andrew's read is a good one. A couple of things I'll mention here, guys, and I think I've talked about it on the podcast before, is one, that we are going to see more people get caught in a regulated environment, because there are so many checks and balances in places. And all the professional sport leagues now have, the sports books that they have partnerships with have guardrails in place to guard against match fixing. The leagues themselves have data providers, Sport Radar and Genius Sports being the two big players in pro sports, that they have their own integrity monitoring. So they're monitoring suspicious activity, which has been referenced in the situation involving the backup center for the Raptors, Jayton Porter. And then there's a company called US Integrity that has become a great big player in the regulated market. And that there's another layer of integrity monitoring. So if you're trying to bet illegally or fix matches through a DraftKings or a FanDuel or a Sports Interaction, there's a real good chance you're going to get caught. And then I think on the flip side too, let's be completely transparent. There's a lot more opportunity out there to bet now. Like, all of us have phones here, and
legally
right now the three of us could be sitting on our phones here and placing a bet during an NHL or an NBA game. So that's a fact of life too. So it's a very complex issue. And if you're reporting this story, you really have to be careful, and you have to put this whole industry in the proper context, that there is illegal sports betting that's still happening. It's been going on forever. We have in North America now an entirely new regulated market with legal sports betting in Ontario and across the provincial lottery corporations in the rest of the country. And then I think you have about 34, 35 states in the U.S. now that have legal sports betting.
Of all the guys, though, Ohtani, like he's the guy, right? Like he's the biggest name in baseball right now. Do you think we've heard the last of this from him? Like he did speak a little bit about it, but I think he goes silent now, and we won't hear anything else.
Yeah, and it's the one thing, Chris, I think that makes this story, adds one more layer of complexity is that we really don't know anything about this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like all I know about Shohei Ohtani is that he's a hell of a pitcher. He's a hell of a hitter. He signed a long-term contract for a lot of money with the Dodgers this winter to the discontent of Toronto Blue Jays fans. But I don't know anything about the guy. I don't know if he's married. I don't know where
he's got a dog. We know he's got a dog.
Okay, well, there you go. So I learned something new on this podcast tonight, which may be a first. But we don't know this guy, and when people make lots of money, it's easy to bet. And Chris, you and I have been around pro sports for a long time. I mean, I remember my days of going down to spring training and going to the Greyhound races and seeing baseball people there and watching the Blue Jays being in the clubhouse and the guys doing their March Madness pools and Masters pools. And so again, if anybody thinks that sports betting is this new awful thing, I mean, get your head out of the sand. And sports betting has been around for centuries. I mean, the Black Sox scandal is over 100 years ago.
Yeah, but it is to me being, I don't want to say shoved down our throats now, but it's definitely people are more aware of where they can go and how they can bet now. There's no question about that. No,
and one thing I will say, Chris, is I do think that the legal industry does have a bit of a mess on its hands. They've kind of put themselves in this position with the excess in sports betting advertising. We saw the first year in Ontario, a lot of really bad, trying to ram sports betting into broadcast. I think Hockey Night in Canada was the most egregious offender.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you have these groups now, like Carl Subban and Bruce Kidd have a group that ban gambling ads, and that's all related to Hockey Night, what they saw on Hockey Night in Canada. Mm-hmm. So I think the industry has created a bit of a mess. And then I do think that, I'm very, very sensitive to that. There is addiction with gambling, just like there is addiction to drugs or alcohol or whatever. And so as an industry, you have to put as many guardrails in place and try to prevent, try to help people who might have a gambling problem. And one of the things I've been on my soapbox about is that in Ontario, where you have about 50 operators now, there's been about $500 million in tax revenue come into this market, and the market turns 2 years old next week on April 4th. The Ontario government's taken in $500 million in tax revenue, and I'm still waiting to hear an announcement from the Doug Ford government about we're going to take X number of dollars from that revenue we've taken in, and we're going to put into addiction programs, mm-hmm. or we're going to support problem gambling programs. And I think that's a mistake on the government's part that they haven't done that. And I also think you're going to see operators. There was an announcement, I think, either yesterday or this morning, that a bunch of the big operators in the U.S. have stepped up and they've formed a responsible gaming coalition. We'll see what that means, if it's just word salad or there's actually some meaningful action that comes out of that. But when you talk to operators, guys, they're certainly aware that they do have a problem right now with the perception of the industry, and it's not a good perception.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we all know that Dougie, he's not going to do anything with that money. He's got to give it to his private contractor friends to redo his back deck. So that's not going to go anywhere here in Ontario, unfortunately. But it's one of those things where we've talked about this numerous times. It seems like we talk about it every time we have you on, Steve. Like, yeah, look, it's legal, and where it's legal, you can engage in it. There's plenty of places you can engage with it and do it legally. And, if you want to sit and have a conversation about the oversaturation of the advertising, look, it's a new industry in terms of it being legal in a lot of places, including here. There's going to be times where a new industry that's legalized stubs its toe. It was the same thing when weed became legal. When cannabis became legal, there was a lot of complaints about the government rollout of it, the system that they were using, the website. Look, you're going to have stubbed toes along the way. If you want to have a conversation about that and the maybe oversaturation and over extravagance, if you will, in terms of the advertising that's been put around it, sure, I'd be willing to have that conversation, but it's a legal industry here in Ontario, just for us speaking. I would categorize myself, and you guys know this, as a semi-regular gambler. I literally laid a bunch of MLB future bets an hour before we got on the show tonight. I'll toss $10, $20 around and go, I picked the division winners, might win $500, turn $10 into $500. Neat. That'll be fun. But, I realize that there are people that struggle with it, and you can get addicted to it just like anything. I think we've all had a friend, I can go to the bar and have 3 beers and go home. We've all got that buddy who can't sit and not have 12. Is that the fault of the industry, or is that a personal problem that needs, more resources, like you mentioned, Steve, to rectify? Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's a complicated issue for sure. And when something like this happens with a Jonte Porter on the Raptors, which that's a weird story too, with the, disparity in some of his prop lines. This is different though. And Steve, I wonder your opinion on this. Like, I think it doesn't matter ultimately what's gone on here on Ipe's side of things. Shohei's now former interpreter. I think what this is going to come down to is what the FBI has. And that's where this caught my attention. The fact that the FBI has been, now the reason they have these documents is in January, they were already investigating this illegal bookmaker in California, this Boer guy. Then they saw on the wire transfers Shohei's name. That's how this all started. And then someone from the press got a hold of that. Ultimately, I think what it's going to come down to is what they're able to discover about who sent those transactions and what Shohei did or didn't know. Because, Steve, at the end of the day, even if it's true that Shohei helped his friend out and gave him this money, he funded something illegal. And whether he plays the, I just thought I was helping my buddy get out of a tough spot card, it's still illegal. And there could be legal ramifications here, Steve.
Yeah, and I think that's why we really need to see this story play out completely and see what the actual story is before we start talking any further about the impact on the gambling industry, or how bad is the gambling industry, so I think we really need to see this play out, guys. The Porter situation, Ryan, that we talked about, that's in the wheelhouse of why regulated gaming works, because either Porter or someone betting on behalf of Porter was placing bets with legal sports books. And again, that's very easy to track. That activity, I think the one game there where there was a whole bunch of Porter bets all of a sudden on him hitting the under on rebounds or points or something, and then he pulls himself from a game because of an apparent injury. I mean, that's pretty black and white. I will say the one thing that still surprised me is just how uneducated these athletes appear to be about league gambling policies. And I don't get that. Like, Clarkey, you remember when we used to walk into the clubhouse, the Blue Jays clubhouse at Skydome back in the early 90s, and the first thing you saw was a sign on the door that says you cannot bet on baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 1992. And the NFL policy, I'll give guys a bit of a mulligan on that one, because the NFL policy is a little bit more restrictive, where if you're on a team training facility, you can't place a bet, or if you're on a team bus going somewhere, you can't place a bet. And I can see there maybe being a little bit of confusion of that. there should be no confusion that if you're a Major League Baseball player, an NBA player, an NFL player, an NHL player, that you cannot bet on your sport. And if you try to justify that somehow, you're an idiot. And so I think, I want to see the Ohtani thing play out before we really do some kind of a postmortem and see if there's a way for us to fix the apparent fixes for this industry.
So, as I mentioned, we're talking about Ohtani here. And there's another guy who was accused of gambling in baseball who's been shunned by the sport. Do you feel any differently? What's your stance on Pete Rose? And do you feel any differently now with
I was just
gambling?
Ask.
Like, where do you stand?
Yeah, I think Pete Rose is a scumbag. I think the guy bet on baseball. He was a manager of a baseball team. To me, that's a slam dunk. The guy does not belong in Cooperstown. And again, we can have this debate, and there's guys out there. I respect the hell out of Jeff Blair, and Jeff Blair says that we shouldn't be putting people in the Hall of Fame or not putting them in the Hall of Fame based on character. I disagree with that to a certain extent. I don't think Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame or Roger Clemens.
No.
But I respect the fact that guys have differing opinions on that. But yeah, Pete Rose is black and white. The guy bet on baseball and he screwed up. And again, I think if you watch Pete Rose over the years, his actions and his words, I mean, he's just not a good guy.
Yeah, he's not helped himself. I was going to just ask that, Clarkey. Great minds think alike on this show. I did wonder, if you're Pete, that's a debate for another day, Steve.
Another show.
If you're Pete Rose, I was going to ask, are you throwing the car and driving backing into old Bobby Manfred's driveway and knocking on the door and saying,
he already has
let's get a photographer over here. I'm ready for my bust. Do you have a 3D printer in there, Rob? Let's get this going. And I respect your opinion, Steve. I personally think all three of those guys should be in the Hall of Fame. Because I understand, Roger Clemens, by the way, he did a fantastic interview with Pitching Ninja the other day. Go watch that. It's incredible. He's a bit more on an island for me from the other two. The other two guys, Bonds and Rose, are clearly, they're not the greatest people in the world. And if Pete doesn't get in, which I don't think he will, it's Rob Manfred has said numerous times, I have no interest in revisiting Pete Rose. So I don't think he will get in. So even if he doesn't, I don't think it's the hugest deal in the world. Bonds is a little different for me. I still think that even if he didn't take the juice, which he did, he was going to the Hall of Fame anyway. And I still feel the same way about Roger Clemens. They were going to be Hall of Famers. So we could have that argument all day long. When it comes down to this, though, with Shohei, you mentioned earlier, we really don't know about the guy. I was blown away the other day to see this article that he is married. Shohei Ohtani has a wife. Her name's Mamiko Tanaka. She's a former pro basketball player. I'm scrolling the other day, and all of a sudden I just see Shohei Ohtani's wife. Meet her. Here she is. I was like, okay, he kind of is similar to almost the Sidney Crosby of baseball. We don't know anything about Sid, who he hangs out with, anything. So that's part of the mystique factor with this story too. When this all broke with Pete Rose back in the day, everybody knew who Pete Rose, everybody knew everything about him. He was Charlie Hustle. He was out doing stuff all the time. People saw him at the bar. Everybody knew everything seemingly about Pete. We literally know nothing about this guy. And that's what I think has stoked the fire even more with the story, Steve, is the fact that he is such a mysterious guy. He comes out the other day, Clarkey, like you mentioned, and makes that statement through the new interpreter in LA. And Ipe also, he said, I never bet on baseball. I never bet on Shohei or anything to do with him. I bet on international soccer, college basketball, a couple other things. My one wrinkle with this whole thing, though, that I look at is, Steve, we're not illegal bookmakers here, but what illegal bookie do you know that would let a guy get 4.5 sheets deep without maybe potentially knowing that he was covered? That's what's sticky here is the FBI is going to have to sit down with this guy, which they were already investigating him, the bookie, and figure out like by the way, the bookie said that he's never had direct contact with Shohei Ohtani or taken bets on his behalf. So that's big, but that could just all be a cover. We don't know. And that's what adds so much to this story is just, we don't know so much about the guy in question, Steve.
Yeah, and the other two guys, like, listen, I mean, put aside the fact that it's an illegal bookmaker that either the Ohtani or the interpreter were some bets with. A guy making as much money as Shohei Ohtani, losing $4.5 million in bets isn't that big a deal. And that sounds crazy for me to say that, but how much did he win? How much did he win? Aside from losing the $4.5 million. And losing $4.5 million, that'd be a very, that'd be like the three of us losing a couple $100 or maybe $1,000, right? And so there's that context as well. But I want to see what the truth is here. And to your point again, Ryan, I think getting the truth is going to be difficult unless the FBI blows this thing wide open. Because you made the point earlier about local journalism, and that's where we are today. We have shrinking newsrooms. We have shrinking access to players and executives. It's harder and harder than ever to get information. But I think you make a great point, Ryan. I think given what we've seen so far, it's going to be the FBI that's going to lift the lid off the cover here.
Yeah, it's a strange story for sure. And, as soon as you hear, a body like the FBI is involved, that's when eyebrows really started getting raised. It's like, okay, what's going on here?
If they can get to the bottom of it, will be the question.
Well, and they will. And that note,
I don't know if they will. Who knows?
Well, and there's the thing. There's the perception too, right? And why people were all mad at old Bobby Manfred, who is not my favorite person in the world. Las Vegas be damned. Because people see this, and it took like 3 days for baseball to comment, and then another day to confirm, yes, we're doing an internal investigation. It's like, Bob, like, I know he's your golden goose here, but like, you can't do this. And to your point too, Steve, like gambling involving athletes has been around for ages and ages. The Black Sox, Pete Rose, of course. Remember 2 years ago, guys, that goofy story came out where Jock Peterson was in like a verbal altercation with another guy. I can't remember who it was that he was involved in it with. And it was an argument over waiver picks in their fantasy football league. Jock Peterson wore a t-shirt. He had a t-shirt made that said waiver stashing is not illegal or whatever it said. Like they were fighting over their fantasy football league. Like, you know what I mean? And I remember I remember learning in college, like sports gambling involving athletes goes all the way back, to the birth of the Olympic Games. There's this famous myth about a track star in Greece, and he intentionally threw a race at the second Olympic Games so that his family could have more bread. Like this is thousands of years in the making, Clarkey. I'm blowing your mind.
No, and I agree with you. And I'm hey, listen, I'm a skeptic because I think I'm a skeptic when it comes to people claiming their innocence, because I always think where there's smoke, there's fire. Like we heard, I misremember how many times, and like, I just don't believe it. I really don't believe it. We have a Canadian curler right now, who's been accused of taking an illegal substance. Sorry. And I'm not saying her personally. I just don't believe it in general. When I hear this thing and when I hear that maybe Ohtani was bet, yeah, you know what? I believe it. When these athletes come out and say that they're innocent and they didn't do it, I think it's just over the years. Maybe I'm getting old I am getting old, but I've just seen it so much. I think it's all true.
It doesn't help either, Chris, when Ohtani hires a crisis communications firm. That's a red flag for me. I know you idolize your good friend Gary Bettman, but when the NHL doesn't come out and explain why Shane Pinto got suspended for 41 games, just say he's unrelated activity. I think that did everybody a disservice. So be transparent about what happened.
Right.
Probably a lesson to be learned by other NHL players or scouts or front office people or equipment managers or trainers. And it makes no sense to me at all that the NHL that we didn't find out why Shane Pinto got suspended for half a season, that's serious. I mean, shit, you can run a guy head first in the boards in the NHL and get 2 games.
And you know what? And you've been in boardrooms. You've heard it. They always want to put spins on things. Like, oh, we got to say it like this. We got to, instead of just, you're never going to hear the truth. As much as we want to hear it, you're never going to hear the truth. They always want to put a spin on their press conferences or in their press releases. There's always a spin for sure. And maybe Ryan, the reason, at least the reason that I don't think some of these guys should be in the Hall of Fame, and maybe Steve, you're the same, is I think that their characters should come into play. And if you're in a dressing room of a Major League Baseball team and you're treated like shit, you have a different opinion about these guys. It's like, screw you guys. That's how I feel about it anyway. Like Dave Stieb treated me like crap.
Yeah, it's funny, like again, Jeff Blair, who I think is one of the greatest baseball writers in my career. He refused to vote Gary Carter in the Hall of Fame. And again, when I look at Gary Carter's numbers, and I watch the Expos a lot with Gary Carter's best years, like to me, Gary Carter belonged in Cooperstown. But obviously, Jeff covered the Expos for the Montreal Gazette for years. And to your point, Clarkey, there was something obviously really bad with that relationship. And listen, I mean, Ty Cobb was a racist. Ty Cobb was a horrible human being and is in Cooperstown. And so I think that's why you get people making the case that, Ty Cobb's in the Hall of Fame, then Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame, and Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. And I'm in your camp, Clarkey. I just think that character should matter. And Ty Cobb getting in, that was a much different time in the world.
Absolutely. A bunch of racists probably voted him in.
Yeah, exactly. So,
right? You know what? You guys have swayed my opinion. I'll say that. I agree because, despite the people that will say, well, it should just be about what they did on the field and it should be stats. I would agree that should be probably 85% of it. But when you call into question, like, these are places where human beings are celebrated, and the treatment of other human beings around them, I think, should be taken into consideration, because that's what we've done with society in general. Like, to say that, well, Ty Cobb's in, so should Barry or Roger, Gary Carter, whoever. I think that's actually weakening the argument then, because, Ty Cobb got into the Hall of Fame and was who he was back when, schools were still segregated. Black people couldn't sit at the front of buses. Like, we don't do that anymore. So as society marches forward and changes and goes, you know what? That was actually a pretty crappy thing that we used to do. I agree. You guys have swayed my opinion. They shouldn't get in. Except for Roger Clemens. Roger Clemens should be in the Hall of Fame. That's just me.
Hey, Ryan, last thing on Cooperstown. The one thing I'll always take to my grave with Barry Bonds is seeing a picture of Barry Bonds when he played in Pittsburgh. The guy weighed like 175 pounds, dripping wet. And when the guy finished his career, he's like 230 pounds, and he has
all muscle.
And so there's, you can't say that there wasn't something untoward. That's not spending time at Gold's Gym in the winter time, giving that body.
No, the guy
Mark McGuire is the same.
Yeah, come on, Mark McGuire. Yeah, the team trainers weren't. Absolutely could say. Well, and he had all sorts of other crazy problems too. Like, yeah, these guys weren't having the team trainer mix them a creatine, shake in the dressing room, and they lifted a couple extra dumbbells every day. Something was Barry Bonds had soccer head by the end of his career. His head was the size of a friggin' soccer ball. It was unbelievable.
They were doing the same stuff, Ryan. They were taking the same stuff that Clarkey used to feed us before the fan celebrity hockey games.
Absolutely, yeah,
that's right.
It's like the scene from Space Jam. Bugs' special stuff.
I didn't know what it was. I misremembered. I misremembered.
Well, Bugs stuff was just water, allegedly, right? Anyway, or it was Jordan. It was Michael Jordan. Jordan shouldn't be in the Space Jam Hall of Fame.
Let's put a bet down, McAllister. Where do the Jays finish this year?
Well, I to me they look like a bottom half of the AL East, Clarkey. There's a lot.
Oh yeah,
seems to be a lot of question marks with the offense. It just seems that Ross Atkins didn't really do much to address it in the off season. And now you got pitching questions. It looks like Romano and Swanson are going to start the season on the IR list, and Gosman and Manoah were banged up a bit of spring training, and I think it's going to be tough for them. And you really have to wonder: is this Ross Atkins last season in that general manager's chair? But
if they miss the playoffs, it has to be. You know what, guys?
How many times have we said that with the Maple Leafs, though? Like, it's the same thing. It's unbelievable what's going on in Toronto sports.
Well, but who's the GM there now? Right? I mean, a change did come.
Yeah.
A change.
It was sort of a mutual parting.
Hey, Clarkey, I know we're going in a different direction, but I don't want to forget, like, Keith Pelly takes over on Tuesday as the new head honcho at Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment. Like, based on what you know about Keith, do you think he's going to come in and upset the apple cart, or do you think
I do. What if they won?
Yeah, you think he'll have the blessing of Rogers and Bell to do that?
I think he had to have, or he wouldn't have come.
I think he wouldn't have taken the job.
Yeah. And I agree. Yeah, if that was I was going to do a little rapid fire with you. Like, who's going to win the Stanley Cup? Who's going to win the Cup?
Yeah, it's funny. I was at Vegas's home opener back in October, and I like Vegas a lot. Obviously, they've come back to earth a little bit. I think it's going to be someone from the West. If you asked me today to lay some money, I would say Colorado, or I've still got some faith in Vegas. I just don't think Vancouver has had a great regular season. I just think they're one of those teams that's going to have to take a step back before they take a step forward in the playoffs. So I like Vegas and Colorado right now.
So the Canadian drought continues. The Canadian drought continues.
You know why I like this? This is a new segment, Clarkey. Prepare something for next week. Clarkey's Rapid Fire. I like this. We're going to do this from now on. I'll participate. You know what?
Brought to you by the Parleh.
The end is going to come.
Can we not find a car dealership in Listowel that could sponsor that segment?
Listen. We're well taken care of on that front. The deals are hot over there, Larry Hudson's. Here's what it is. Let me tell you what. As the great band Greta Van Fleet once prodigiously said, a change is going to come because the Winnipeg Jets are going to win the Stanley Cup, Clark.
Wow. There you go.
All right.
I was thinking that today, like and Winnipeg kept coming to mind. They have the goaltending Jays, for sure. And
much like you swayed
this
my
is
opinion.
My segment, man. You're
I know, but I want to participate in the Jays thing too.
You're just the host.
Okay. That's right. Much like you swayed my Hall of Fame opinion.
My name is first on the show.
I've gone. That's because you're older than me. I've gone with I'm Mr. Optimist today. The Jays are going to finish second in the AL East. They're going to be a wild card team. They're going to win 90 games. Gosman's ready to go. Did you see his spring training start? He's a freak. That's what's going to happen.
Good. We got one guy.
Go ahead, Clarkey.
Brian, is there some leftover product from the opening of the cannabis industry going on?
Listen.
Okay, NHL MVP. Here. NHL MVP.
Nikita Kucherov.
He doesn't count because he mocked the All-Star game.
Yeah, I mean,
doubling down.
I'm not asking you.
I mean, McKinnon's on a hell of a run with this, what is it, 35 or 36 game?
Yeah, it's unbelievable
right now, and he's had a great season. It's funny, Ryan, when I was driving to Listowel last night with two buddies of mine, we were talking about if we had to start an NHL team, who would we take first? And I think there's, you couldn't go wrong right now with Kucherov, Matthews, McDavid, McKinnon, and maybe Cale Makar in there. But I think anointing Connor McDavid the best player in the world right now, I think there's a really good debate to be had there. And I love Connor McDavid. He's an incredible hockey player. But does Matthews
only come in if he gets 70? Like, is he only a finalist if he gets 70, or is he not even a finalist if he gets 70 goals?
I think he's a finalist.
I think he should be a finalist, Chris. I think the guy carries that team, and I think he's become such a complete player. I love his game. He, in a lot of respects, he's a lot like Sidney Crosby. He's a guy who gets better at every year he finds something that he's got to get better at. He does it. He's really good defensively. He's unbelievable at stripping pucks, as I think we've talked about on the show before. But he definitely belongs in that conversation.
Will an NHL coach get ejected from a game for the remainder of the season by a ref?
Yes. Yeah.
Who?
Well, I think a lot of candidates. The one guy I'm really disappointed in, guys, is Paul Maurice, and I've been really surprised the last two seasons how abusive Paul Maurice is to officials.
Mm-hmm.
And again, last night, Ryan, I spent the last two periods of that game in Listowel with Scott Driscoll, the former NHL linesman who's now supervising for the Ontario Hockey Association, and I was just talking to Scott and just saying I think NHL referees have always put up with way too much garbage from coaches and players, and I wonder if what we've seen lately with Tortorella getting tossed and Sheldon Keefe getting tossed, that referees are finally fed up, and I'd be shocked, Clarkey, if we don't see another ejection before the end of the regular season.
Well, I know Paul Maurice has been known to be one of the biggest chirpers there are out there. I work with Paul. He was a terrific guy, but they're definitely different when they're behind the bench coaching a game. No question about it.
The one I was going to nominate. So
Paul Maurice, I wouldn't doubt it. And the way the Panthers have been losing lately, they could be at the peak stage.
They'll be okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's it for rapid fire this week. Thank you.
No more rapid fires.
That's it for now.
I like that segment. I like that segment, Clarkey. That's the keeper.
Yeah, I think we're going to keep. We're going to keep that. We're going to consider letting Clarkey continue with golf picks. That's still up in the air. But the rapid segment creator, official instigating segment creator, Clarkey, you're the president.
And maybe it should be rapid fire with Arthur and the commissioner.
I like that a lot. I like that.
Yeah, Ryan, can you just remind that Bernhard Langer is now on the Champions Tour, though, for Clarkey? He doesn't play on the PGA Tour anymore.
Here we go.
We don't let him pick guys like that, although, you watch the show, Steve. I know you support the show. You've seen some of the greasy activity that's gone on here recently. And
we're going to get into it later, but there was more greasy activity this week. Where I didn't,
we're gonna have to address that.
I've been a busy guy, and I didn't check. When I see texts coming in from Ryan and Ian, I don't always read them. And then today, I'm catching up on our WhatsApp group chat for the show, and apparently we had an agreement that we were going to throw out the rules this week in our turn. You can't throw out rules. No one won. Nobody won.
Nobody won
this week. I didn't pay attention because I knew my guys didn't make the cut.
Don't worry. We're going to address that, okay?
All right, fine.
And but before we do that, we have to say once again, thank you very much to our friend Steve McAllister of Gaming News Canada. Remember, you can still get the podcast everywhere and of the Parleh as well. Mac, you're the best, man. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, guys, always love these segments, guys. Look forward to joining you again soon. Let's do this during the Stanley Cup playoffs.
We have to. Absolutely. There will be many more rapid fires. Steve McAllister, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we'll be right back. And Clarkey and I, as promised, we'll address the controversy at hand. That's not at the hand of Clarkey this time. We're going to address that next here on Instigating. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you by our friends at Conway Furniture, our friends over at Larry Hudson, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, and of course, Listowel Squash Courts. Ryan Drury back here with Clarkey. Thanks again to our friend Steve McAllister. Stevie Mac's the best. I mean, he just always gives us ton of time. We're always like, yeah, why don't you hop on for 15, 20 minutes with Steve, 40, 45 later. It's like, okay, thanks, guys. What a beauty that guy is. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Clarkey, let's address this. Let's address this issue. Now, we made a lot of bones recently about your cowardly lion play at the Mexico Open, trying to grease me out of making picks.
Hit the same level. Yeah.
We really did that. Now, Doigi, for all of you who watched the show last week, we made Valspar championship picks. Now, you all know the rules.
Yeah.
If you have a guy miss the cut, you get a penalty stroke on your 4-pack of picks. You get a penalty stroke. If 2 guys, so half of our team, miss the cut, your team's disqualified.
Yeah.
Friday. Yeah.
Let me just cut in here for a second.
Please.
Adam, are you able to turn on your mic? Our producer, Adam, I'm just wondering. Yeah, okay. So
there's Adam.
Okay, so I have a question to ask our producer, Adam. Because as you were just about to mention, after Friday's round, we all had 2 guys that missed the cut.
We were all DQ'd.
We are all DQ'd. Adam, you're an innocent bystander in all this. What should happen?
I don't even know what Ryan has planned. Like the rules say, nobody should win at this point. Like the rule says, 2 guys.
And that's exactly what should happen. Okay, go ahead, Ryan.
And that is what is going to happen. So here's what went down. Because all of our teams DQ'd, Doigi put forth the proposal that Clarkey again didn't read.
No, didn't read it.
On Friday that said, well, let's just roll with the 2 guys we all have left. And I said, well, that's awful convenient because you're in the lead.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I didn't know that either.
I said verbatim, I guess I'm okay with it. Clarkey, what do you think?
And I didn't answer.
You never responded.
No, sorry.
Now,
been busy.
If that
been busy.
If that had
and
been
that's not
thing,
an excuse.
It's not an excuse. Well, no, but it is though, because why would you ever think that this would be a thing?
Right.
Now,
why did
I rolled with Doigi. I was peer pressured, and I said, okay, fine, we'll do it. Now, Doigi, quote unquote, under those circumstances, quote unquote.
No, it doesn't even matter who won, who lost. Doesn't matter. No one won or lost. We don't have to say anything. I just love today. You're texting everyone and we go, but we agreed to just let it roll.
Like, and you didn't. Now I agreed with Doigi's proposal. I said, okay, fine, we'll just roll with the 2 guys.
Anyway, no, we all lost. Like we couldn't pick.
We all lost. There's no winner.
No, one of us could pick 3 guys that made the cut. Man, oh man.
And it was a weak field, but that's not an excuse either. I'm complicit in this. For the first time this year, I was even kind of bad. Not very good. But none of us win. Doigi.
No, don't even put it up. But don't say who won.
This is what Doigi wants to stand by. Okay.
Whatever.
And we're not going
all
to.
By himself.
And here's why. And it goes back to our Pete Rose discussion earlier, right? Clarkey, the rules are the rules. We established these rules for a reason. We all, as you can see, have 2 players that missed the cut. We all are gone. There is no winner. I remain the reigning champion, and we will roll. We're going to roll forward. We're not going to make picks until the Big Daddy Topper, the Masters, which will be a big, big deal. And Clarkey, I'll be honest with you, I'm dead serious. I'm genuine when I say this.
Yes.
Really, I am.
Yes.
I genuinely hope you win the Masters pick.
Thanks, buddy.
I really,
Thanks. And you hope the Leafs win the cup.
Really do.
Things are turning around.
Yeah, I do.
I know you've said it before. I get it.
I'm Mr. Positivity. I want you to have a picture like this behind you. I really do.
Look, I have the space.
Yeah, you have. I'm
redoing things. I have the space. It's a blank slate, as they say. It's a blank space right now. I'm ready to go.
Yes, you're Taylor Swift. You got a blank space and ready to write some names. How about that?
That's right. Exactly. There we go.
Yes, including if
HST and delivery.
Well, we know who includes that in their great prices, but I was going to say, before we move into our friends at Conway Furniture, I was going to say, including the now newly touted business guy, Mitchell Marner, who should be back from injury soon.
Business trousers.
Yes, he's no longer fancy. We don't. No, you know what? We don't even say that around these parts anymore. No, we don't say that around here.
Don't say FP anymore.
Mitchell, all business Marner. That is the guy, and he will be hanging behind you soon, holding a Stanley Cup in a big frame. How about that?
There we go.
We're all positive here. We're very positive.
We are.
It's going to be fantastic. My Capitals might make the playoffs. How about that? Really?
I know. We watched the game together. We haven't even talked about that.
Yeah, the trouncing there. Well, it was a competitive game till the third, and then the Leafs put the pedal down. My buddy Tommy Wilson smacked the guy.
Well, let me just tell the story. Let me tell the story. Ryan's on his phone. He's not watching the game, and I'm like, "Whoa!" And he goes, "What?" And I go, "Tom Wilson's going to get suspended." I go, "Yeah, what do you do? What do you do?" And then he goes, "Oh, that was pretty bad."
Yeah,
6 games. Dude, I thought he would have got 3 or 4, but he got 6.
Well, he's Tom Wilson. I'm not a crazy person. I don't sit there as a fan and go, our guy did.
But it is crazy watching a game with someone who was a fan of the other team and just thinking how the officiating is so bad for your team. And I thought it was so bad for my team. And it's like, that's what a fan is all about, right?
Oh, I was just pushing your buttons, though. I actually didn't think the officiating was bad.
I let the Leafs push your buttons with the win, so that's enough.
I guess so. I'll push yours with that right there. So how about that?
That's right.
Anyway, I'll get the tattoo out, dude. I'll do it. Now listen, we have to move into our favorite segment, and we all know what that is. You brought it up earlier. How about this? Our friends at Conway Furniture. Let me tell you about them.
Oh, I forgot the hat again. Mitch, I'm sorry, buddy.
No, it's okay. All the price. You're renovating.
I've been renovating. I am.
There's a lot of stuff going on in Clarkey's life right now.
Yeah.
And you know what? A part of renovation, maybe you're out there watching, you're going, you know what? I'm in the middle of a renovation right now, and I could use some new floors. I'd love a new love seat to go right there in front of the TV.
Maybe some new carpet.
Maybe some carpet. Hey, while you're in there, you know what? I'm going to renovate the kitchen too, and I need a new dining set. Well, you know where you can find all that stuff with great prices, and it includes HST and delivery?
Highway 86, just
our friends.
Oh, where's our intro? We have permission to play that. Adam, do you have it?
Do we have Phil May? I have it ready. I'm sorry.
We're going to get it. We're going to get it up.
Get that ready.
Okay. We will have it. We'll have it next week.
Okay.
Our friends at Conway Furniture, they're going to hook you up. If you're in the middle of renos, or hey, maybe you just want to make a light little switch up. You got an old couch you want to upgrade? They're the people you go see. Conway Furniture, Highway 86, east of Listowel. Now, our couch potatoes, Clarkey, we usually let you go first.
You can go first.
I like to yield to the elder statesman here, the smart guy, my mentor.
Thanks.
I'm trying to pump your tires. We're Mr. Positive this week.
Thanks.
Okay? And on that note, I was going to go negative here, but I thought, you know what? In the spirit of the show this week, I'm Mr. Optimist here.
Wow.
I can't do it. I was going to go after the NFL and the new hip drop tackle thing. Stupid. We're not going to do that.
Okay.
Big news for a favorite son of Listowel, Ontario. He may not be from here, but he basically is now. He's a celebrated guy for a good reason, a legendary Listowel Cyclone who's carved out a great pro career for himself down in Atlanta, Georgia, and now is the newest interim head coach of the Macon Mayhem, our friend, Caleb Cameron. Look at this. The Cyclones posting a great old photo of him in a Sykes uniform, congratulating him on becoming the newest interim head coach of the Macon Mayhem. By the way, if you're familiar, Caleb, a couple seasons back, broke the games played record for the Macon Mayhem. So he's a legend in Listowel. He's a legend in Macon. And now he's the bench boss. Caleb, you're a friggin' beauty, buddy. Congratulations. You deserve it. What an amazing accomplishment. And I'm not surprised whatsoever. Yes, let's do it. Give a little round. Caleb Cameron, from star player to star head coach, you are my couch potato of the week. Clarkey,
very good.
Go ahead.
That's very good.
Yes.
Well, I've had a couple of choices this week. And I didn't want to name you and Doigie as my couch potatoes again for coming up with this harebrained idea. Let's throw away the rules this week. Okay.
Include
we have rules. We have rules. However, I I have to name myself the couch potato this week. And I know we don't like doing this, but
wow.
Ryan, yeah, but here's the thing. Okay. I've been playing squash for like a long time now, and I had a bad foot, and I've been playing squash. And if you ever played me, like I play Steve Sabrin, our buddy, I play Steve a lot. And if you ever played against me, and Al would tell you this, I never hit the ball overhand. I always hit it underhand. Okay. And there's a reason for it. And it's, I got slew-footed in hockey about 3 years ago, and it hurt my shoulder. When I throw a ball or I hit the ball overhand in squash, it hurts. So finally I said to the doc, Doc, how do I find out if there's anything going on in my shoulder? And he said, well, let's send you for an ultrasound. So I went for an ultrasound, and Adam, throw up the graphic. The graphic came back, and I have a torn rotator cuff. I've torn my rotator cuff. Yeah. So I've been playing 3 years ago. So I've been playing hurt for 3 years. Like, it's no wonder I can't hit the ball overhand. So here we go. Back to physio. I go back to physio. And while I was at physio the other day, the physio guy took this picture of me with the brace on, that I have to, Adam, if you want to put up the picture of me with the brace on. So, I got to wear this brace, and, it's just going to hinder my play. There's me in the brace.
Oh God. Okay. The show's over. Thanks for watching, everybody.
That's me in the brace. What's the problem?
Listen, when you,
Adam, back to us.
Like a week ago, you chastised me and said, you can't ever make me your couch potato ever again. Then you nominate yourself, and I'm feeling sorry for you. I'm going, look at this poor guy.
No, but I do have it. It is true. I do have a rotator cuff. I do have a rotator cuff tear. I do.
Then what you tried to do just there, for everybody watching, if you're listening to the podcast, please go find us on YouTube and watch this. What you tried to do just there kind of dragged me back to the other side of feeling sorry for you a little bit there.
No, you can feel sorry.
I'm glad you're trying to get healthy here. That's a serious thing, dude. And hey, if you rehab it properly, you're going to be a whole new man.
Well, hey, like I could throw a ball again, maybe. And the doctor said that it's got really good physio for this type of injury with the torn rotator cuff is good, and it should help. It should fix the problem.
Amazing.
So I'm not looking forward to all the physio and strength and all that stuff. I'm not good at that stuff.
As soon as the ground dries up and the sun's out, full Field of Dreams treatment. Let's have a catch.
Well, I would love to. I used to be able to throw a football. Like in touch football, I was the quarterback all the time. Like I could have been probably Tom Brady if I had started earlier, but I didn't.
Yes.
But anyway, no, it's I have a torn rotator cuff, and I just found out this week, and it was a little devastating, but at least I know now what's been going on up there.
It's nice to know what's up. Well, there you go.
What's been going on. So I'm going to be a couch potato, maybe, for the next little while. Watching the Jays lose, probably, but I'll be a couch potato
back on that six pack.
I got to find out if I can still play squash while I'm doing the rehab. As long as I don't hit it overhand, I think I'll be okay.
You'll probably be fine. The abs will carry you through.
Really quick.
Can I jump in with a third couch potato? Can I jump in with a third couch potato? Because you guys were mentioning Nathan McKinnon.
Adam.
You were mentioning Nathan McKinnon early in the show, and I just got to throw some love to my Nate Dogg boy. First player in the NHL to have 2 streaks of at least 19 games. Only one. Gretzky, no. All the other great scores you can think of. Oh, not even Ovechkin has ever had one. So there you go.
That's amazing. How about that? Well, he's on track. This point home scoring record that he's going after here. He could legitimately overtake one of Gretzky's records. Unbelievable.
He could. He's already passed Joe Sakic on the most points by an Avs player. And he's chasing Marcel Dion for the most points in the franchise Quebec Nordiques history right now. So
how many times has he scored 70 goals?
I don't know. I'd have to look that one up.
Sakic never did either, and he's an all-timer, so how about that? By the way, Joe Sakic, maybe the most used curve ever that everybody used the Sakic Easton Synergy when I was a kid. Everybody used the Sakic curve.
I still have one sitting in my garage, literally.
Probably the most popular curve of all time. I love that. Producer Adam from the top rope. Let's go.
Yeah, he might be my
loaded couch potatoes
for just jumping in without.
Those are no. Those are loaded couch potatoes. Those are baked potatoes. Loaded Conway Furniture.
Yeah, that's
loaded
what we should call
Conway
them.
Furniture Couch Potatoes. I love it this week, guys. Really quick, Clarkey.
Yeah,
Larry Hudson, Chevrolet Buick GMC. Hey, potatoes. You like to have them hot. We know that the deals over there are hot.
The deals
spice it up.
Hot.
What's going on over there?
Well, we are open Saturday. So if you're around this Easter Saturday, come on in. I'm there. I'm happy to help you. So we're open Saturday. We're closed Friday. Obviously, this show is airing Friday, so we were closed today. But we are open Saturday, and then it's a new month on Monday. So we're going to get a whole bunch of new deals where they'll be hot. I guarantee you they'll be hot. But if you've been wondering, maybe I should wait, you might want to take advantage of all the 0% financing and everything that's on right now. Saturday will be your last chance. So come on in and pick up that new truck or SUV. Blazers. We got some great Blazers, Trailblazers, Tracks, Chevy Tracks, newly redesigned. We can't keep them in stock. Like literally, I sold one this week. It was literally on the lot for about 35 minutes and it was gone.
Wow. Amazing.
Oh, yeah. As soon as they come off the truck, people come in and buy them.
Deals are hot. Selection's hot. Larry Hudson, Chevrolet Buick GMC.
27 grand. That's all they cost. 27 grand. And they're
heck of a deal.
Heated seats, heated steering wheel. It's pretty good. Ryan?
Good night.
It's pretty good.
Salesman. Pretty good. Pretty good. Better than most. Better than most.
Deals
all right. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to our friends at Conway Furniture, Larry Hudson, Chevrolet Buick GMC, the Listowel Squash Courts. Thanks to our buddy Steve McAllister. Remember, you can watch this show Friday nights at 8, Sunday nights at 9 with our friends on Whiteman TV. That's channel 6 for Whiteman subscribers. Debut on our YouTube channel Friday nights at 9. Remember, you can follow us on social media at InstigatingPod. Find the podcast version on all your favorite podcast apps. For myself, Ryan Drury, Clarkey, we will be back next week. Maybe still Optimist. I'm Mr. Optimist this week. We'll see how next week goes. We'll be back next week here on Instigating.